Good morning all. Today I am going to introduce a topic from income tax, that is computation of income from house property. Mainly there are three types of house properties: self-occupied, let out and deemed to be let out. Here we will discuss about the computation of income from a let out house property. This is the format we are following to compute income from house property. That is gross annual value, and we are deducting the municipal tax. We will get net annual value, and from that we are deducting standard deduction and interest on borrowed capital. The resulting figure will be the income from house property. So let's see each items in detail. First one, we have to calculate the gross annual value, that is GAV. So annual value means the value of the property for which the house property is let out. So for calculating this annual value, we have to compare some terms. They are MRV, FRV, SRV and ERV. Let's see in detail what is that. First one, municipal rental value. It is the value of a house property, rental value of the house property that is fixed by the municipal authorities or local authorities, maybe municipalities, corporations or panchayat, etc. So, MRV or municipal rental value means the rental value which is fixed by the local authority. The next one, fair rental value. Fair rental value means it is the rent received or receivable for a similar property of the same locality. Next one, standard rental value, that is SRV. It is the maximum rent which is fixed by the Rent Control Act. And next one, expected rental value, that is ERV. This amount will be computed by comparing these three rental values, that is MRV, FRV and SRV. Okay. Next one, actual rental value, that is ARV. It is the actual amount of rental value that is received by the owner from the tenant. And another term is real rental value. Suppose if the owner given any common facilities, while calculating the gross annual value, we are deducting such expenses for common facilities from the actual rental value. The resulting figure will be the real rental value. After comparing these all rental values, we will get the annual rental value. Let's see how to compute this annual rental value. First of all, we have to compare MRV and FRV and take the highest value. And this highest value is compared with SRV, standard rental value, and taking the lowest value. The lowest value is called ERV, that is expected rental value. Then ERV is comparing with ARV after deducting the unrealized rent and taking the highest value. The resulting figure will be the annual rental value. Suppose if there is any vacancy period, the rent for such vacancy period will be deducted from annual rental value and the resulting figure will be GAV or gross annual value. Okay, so in the format, the first amount is gross annual value and the gross annual value is computed by following this procedure. Okay. Next term is municipal tax. It is the tax levied by the local authority on the house property and it is charged on payment basis. If it is related with past or present or future, whatever, if there is any tax paid by the owner, it is deductible from the GAV. Then the deduction gets only for the amount which is paid by the owner. If the tax is paid by the tenant, we cannot claim that deduction. And it is given for only for let out property. That means there is no deduction for municipal tax in case of self-occupied property. The municipal tax can be deducted only from let out house property. And while calculating the municipal tax, if there is only a percentage is given, we are calculating on the basis of municipal rental value, that is MRV. Next, education cess and health cess can be considered as municipal tax. So we are deducting municipal tax from gross annual value. We will get net annual value. From that amount, we are deducting a standard deduction. It is a deduction under section 24. That means we are calculating a 30% of net annual value and deducting from NAV. Next one, interest on borrowed capital. Suppose the owner borrowed any loan and he pays interest on such loan, he can claim a deduction for that interest. The interest can be current year interest or pre-construction interest. But in case of pre-construction interest, the owner can claim only 1/5 portion of the interest. Okay, at last we will get income from house property, income from let out house property. Let's see an example. From the following information, compute the income from house property of Miss Hima for the year 2022-23. The house has 2 floors, one is let out and other is self-occupied. Okay, so Miss Hima has a house and which have 2 parts. First one is let out and first one is self-occupied. So while calculating the income from that house property, we have to calculate it separately. Then the let out portion fetches a monthly income of rupees 10,000. That means it is the actual rental value. Municipal value of the house is 2 lakh, that is MRV, while the standard rent is rupees 2,50,000. However, the fair rental value is 2,20,000. Municipal tax paid during the year is rupees 10,000. So he can claim deduction for 10,000. Whether he will get full amount or not, we will discuss it later. Next one, interest due on loan taken for the construction of the house was rupees 80,000. So she taken a loan and she pays an interest, that is rupees 80,000. So we will start to do the problem. I have already said that in this case the house has 2 parts, that is self-occupied and let out. Okay, so we have to compute the income separately. And the annual value of the self-occupied will be nil. Always the annual value of the self-occupied property will be nil. We have to calculate income only for let out house property. And in this case, the whole amount, that means all these rental values are for the entire house property. But we have to only take the let out portion. So, while calculating the rental values, we have to take the half portion of each amount. So, MRV will be half of 2 lakh, that is 1 lakh. And FRV will be half of 2,20,000, that is 1,10,000. SRV will be half of 2,50,000, that is 1,25,000. And in case of ARV, we need not to take any half portion because there is only rental value for let out house property. So we have to multiply 10,000 with 12 months. So we will get 1,20,000. Okay, so these are the rental values for calculating the GA. Next one, the municipal tax and interest on loan should be deducted separately because the both are mainly made for common house property, but we have to claim deduction only in case of let out house property. So we are taking the half of municipal tax and half of interest amount for deduction purpose. So let's compute the gross annual value. As the procedure says, first we are comparing MRV with FRV. So taking the highest value, that is 1,10,000. And this 1,10,000 is comparing with 1,25,000. And we will taking the lowest value. The lowest value will be called as expected rental value. And this 1,10,000 is comparing with 1,20,000. And taking the highest value, 1,20,000. So in this property, the gross annual value will be 1,20,000. because there is no vacancy period or unrealized rent. So we can take the 1,20,000 as the gross annual value. So we can conclude that gross annual value for let out house property is 1,20,000 and GAV for self-occupied house property will be net. I have already said that. Okay, so the first step is completed. Next, we are calculating the income from let out house property and self-occupied property separately. You can see this. There is 2 columns are provided here. Okay, the particular column is same. So first one, gross annual value. In case of let out, there is 1,20,000. We have already calculated. And in case of self-occupied, it is nil. And we are making a deduction of municipal tax under section 23 of rupees 5,000. Okay, so we are deducting 5,000 from 1,20,000. We will get 1,15,000. That will be the net annual value. Next one, we are making some deductions under section 24. First one, standard deduction. It is the 30% of net annual value. So here we are taking 30% of 1,15,000 and the amount will be 34,500. Okay, we are deducting the 34,500. Next one, interest on borrowed capital. Here is only current year interest, that is 40,000. We have already calculated that half of 80%. So 80,000, that is 40,000. Here we have to notice that there is a 40,000 of deduction in case of self-occupied property. Okay, so the amount will be 40,500 in case of let out property, and in case of self-occupied property we get a loss. The negative figure denotes that there is a loss. Okay, so from the same property we are getting income and loss. So we have to set off this loss with the income in the final calculation. This is the procedure. Okay, I have already said that we are getting income from let out property and there is a loss from self-occupied property. And here we are set off in the income loss with the income. Okay, so the net figure will be 500. That means the net income from house property will be 500. So these are about computation of income from let out house property. Okay, thank you.